Hello you, it's me. Today we're going to talk about the character-focused fantasy grimdark-ish novel, The Blacktongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. I had a lot of fun with this. It's the first Buehlman I've read and I'll definitely be picking up more. This is one that could work as a standalone, but I think it's number one in a series, so I'm really excited to see where this goes. I'll mark stuff on the time bar if you want to click around. I'm going to do plot, review, things I like, things I didn't like are probably going to be mixed in, but I'll mark relevant stuff. We follow a guild thief named Kinch Nashanak, whose race may or may not be descended from the now extinct elves. He's a master lockpick, a master pickpocketer, a master breaker and enterer, a knife fighter, a small magics and cantrip user. He's in debt to his guild. They have him over a barrel. He's given a target by his guild, a warrior woman named Galva, a survivor of the Goblin War that waged for generations that humans very, very nearly lost. She's on her way to the far north to a city destroyed and inhabited by giants to find and rescue her queen. And as Kinch embarks on the journey with her, at the behest of his guild, he finds himself becoming irreversibly entangled and has to make some very difficult choices. You'll know if you've seen any of my other reviews that I give a huge amount of points for originality. It's one of the book or story qualities that I think is hardest to do while still being memorable and believable. But this is not like any fantasy novel I've read before, either in story or just overall vibe. While the story that our protagonists find themselves caught up in has far-reaching implications, their story is not necessarily a world-encompassing story. It's A to B with things happening along the way, but the world build we see through the eyes of those travellers is on a massive scale. We're dropped into a world in the aftermath of a war that humans won by a hair's breadth. The author does such a good job of painting a picture of a population still living in fear, still having distrust of everybody, still in recovery and still with this boiling just beneath the skin resentment for the times they've had to live through. One thing I thought was amazing were the small details in the aftermath we wouldn't even consider, such as over a certain age there really aren't any men around because they all died throwing themselves against goblins, and the fact that horses are very, very nearly extinct, the goblins having engineered a disease to kill them and destroy our main advantage. It's such a well thought out world build, and all these tiny things come together to really make it feel like the place we're in has history, real history that has effects and had ripples that we are still feeling. The book refers a lot to past events and gives a lot of background to stuff in a way that works really well, and it manages to do it totally without info dumping. One of the ways the world build is put to us in such a masterful way is by using Kinch, who is one of the best point of view narrators I've ever read. The narrative style almost feels like we're being told a story by Kinch about something that happened to him a long time ago. And his voice brings so much to the story. It gives depth to stuff by sometimes letting him step back from narrating and say things like, "What I didn't know at this point was," or "I would later find out." Seeing the world build through the eyes of somebody who is very cynical, but also somebody who is trained to be quietly perceptive was a real treat. Kinch is also very funny, which I maintain is hard to do without being cringy. A lot of people, especially in fantasy novels, rely on sarcasm as the only source of humour. But even down to the hilarious word choices and turns of phrase that Kinch uses, I was laughing out loud as I read this, which is incredibly rare. The other characters, by the way, super amazing. You have this gnarled, borderline traumatized warrior with a freaking stag-sized battle raven companion, an assassin covered in magical tattoos, the beautiful young apprentice of a witch called Deadlegs who wears the lower half of corpses to get around, and a lovely little blind cat called Bully Boy. The female characters in this are really well written, they're strong, and they're not unflawed. Often when reading something fast-paced, and this is a fast-paced book, I'm annoyed because I see cool things and I want to linger on them, or I want them explained better, but this did such a brilliant job of showcasing the world while giving us an action-filled plot that just didn't slow down at all. And although the group does run into various obstacles along the road that they're travelling on, it manages to not feel episodic, like the Kraken episode, the Minotaur episode, and it all does feel like one coherent story. I will also add that this is one of the only times I've read a description of a thieves' guild in a fantasy setting that I could believe was a functioning part of the world build. But on the humour front, this book is a roller coaster, and it goes from being hilarious and heartwarming to some of the grossest, vilest fantasy scenes that I've read in a long time. This book might not be actual grim dark, but it does not shy away from filth. One of the reasons I love Max Brooks, and I promise this is relevant, is that his two main novels are zombies and Bigfoot, things that are often disregarded as being not scary, and he's found a way to make them terrifying. And this book has done the same with goblins, something I think a lot of people would see as a level 1 enemy that's not much of a threat, but they breed like rats. They do not think the way we think. They don't just wage a war against humans over a resource. For them, it's like waging a war against an animal. Humans will try and anthropomorphize anything, but goblins will kill you, goblins will butcher you, and they will eat you. They do not hold the same moral values that we do, and the way this book explored that was harrowing. There's also this incredible image of giants with humans as pets. Obviously, giants can't get into buildings, so they have a bunch of humans on leashes like dogs that run in and pull the other humans out. I thought that was amazing. Buehlman also manages to get such a good balance with magic between using it all the time until its impact is diminished, and using it so rarely it's barely even there. When we do see magic in the book, it's very impressive. It's used for things that are both tiny tool-like things, and then mind-bending things like creating an upside-down pocket dimension type stuff. It's a very, very soft magic system with a lot of different styles of magic. And not everyone in the story has a clear idea of how magic works. Buehlman doesn't need to explain every single thing because we're not seeing magic through the eyes of a magic user. We're seeing it through the eyes of a rogue, a thief, who can do a little bit. There's also this really cool idea of how luck works for characters, and I love that as well. There's not a lot I didn't like about this book, honestly, and I don't want to give away huge amounts of stuff. I think the spoilery bits I like here were all to do with plot, which I think people should go into completely blind and be as enchanted as me. This is such a perfect book for anybody who likes D&D, for anybody who likes tabletops, RPG video games. Can't recommend this enough. Can't wait for anything else from the author. It's a hard 5 stars from me, and it is straight up there with my all-time favourite fantasy novels. So thanks very much for watching this review. Don't forget to follow me on Goodreads and Twitter, which I'll link down below if you like sci-fi. Don't forget to follow our Interstellar Book Club, which I'll also link down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more book reviews coming thick and quick. I read pretty fast. And I'll see you next time. Bye!